Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Hi, Robert Hartline here with The Decision, Nashville Entrepreneur Organization's podcast to help fellow members with that tough decision. You know, that time in your business where you're struggling with something and you go to your forum mates and say, guys and gals, I need some help. And this podcast is to help teach and train all of us on how to be better at the experience of a forum. With me as my co-host, Eric Jackson from Element 47, Arnie Malham here, a fellow EO member of many, many years. How many years are we talking?
2004, right?
2004? Well, you tell me. You're the one that's the...
I often get confused with my graduation years and all the other stuff. But yeah, I joined in late 2004, was put in a random forum, screamed bloody murder about it, just like every new member does now. And because I wanted to be with experienced entrepreneurs. But we're still together as a forum after all this time.
Oh, really?
Not everyone, but
you committed to that forum and you stayed with it.
We've it's been an amazing experience.
Well, that's a really good question though, because you dropped in, you let's say you wind up about it, and you were struggling with it. What made you settle into just accepting it?
Once it clicks with the people, once you realize everyone in the room is there to make you better and you accept the fact that you're there to make them better, like once you stop bitching and start accepting that we're all rowing the boat, then that, for me, that's when we move forward. I use that same principle in my companies to grow them. Hey, we're all here to help. If you think someone here is not here to help you, or if you come to work with the purpose of not helping someone, we have a problem. That's how we define trust. And so I actually took that, you can bitch and moan about things, or you can just get busy helping other people be better. And that's a win.
Now, did you learn that at the time, or?
And look, most of my forum mates did not like me early in the forum because I was a little bit of a, I'm still a bit of an asshole, but I was, I thought I was all that.
I thought you were all that.
Yeah.
Well, but you're really not.
Not really.
What you're saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not good when I think that. But anyway, yeah, it's I've learned forum has taught me how to be a better parent, how to be a better spouse, how to be a better business person. Not because any one person said, do it this way. It's just having those experiences to learn from.
Now, I know you've sold your business, but tell the listeners what the business was at the time you started with EO.
The business, we were an ad agency, which, people can get. Eric's in the ad business. Eric knows ads. But we had a unique specialty. All we handled were personal injury lawyers across the country. 100% of our business were personal injury lawyers. And so the challenge I had was not that I didn't have the skills to do that. I had to hire a lot of people to be really good at marketing personal injury lawyers, and forum and EO and all the books I read and all the people I met just seemed all in unison in teaching me how to do that.
Now, take us back to the time you start your business. You've been in business for how many years before EO?
10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What brought you to EO initially?
Joe Friedman, right? The legend, a legendary,
Godfather.
Right up there with Bill Kimberlin, legendary Nashville EO member, sees me in the hallway one day, looks at me, shakes his head and says, "You're over $1 million, right? You're over $1 million, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm over $1 million." He goes, "You're joining EO." That was it.
A presumptive close. I like it.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. And then he was back on his phone.
So you dropped in really not knowing what you were getting into, but was there a problem or challenge in the business that you felt you needed help, or you just?
I was so bad, Robert. I didn't even know what was wrong. I was just running as fast as I could.
Yeah,
I was just running as fast as I could, and so that and we I help seed new forums now and get new members on board. There's so many, like I see myself in so many new members, right? We find a little success, we start running towards it, and then we don't know how to stop running. We don't know how to run faster. We don't know how to have people help us. We're just running. And so not everyone that joins EO is like that, but a lot of new members joined as I did. We just, okay, I'm running. Tell me what to do now.
So going back to that time you started in EO, what is different about you today?
Yeah.
It is different from the Arnie of before EO.
Well, you, Eric, everyone listening, the only difference between us, however many years, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and now are the books we read and the people we meet, right? That's the difference in our lives, in how we carry ourselves, what we expect of others, the books we read and the people we meet. And EO has provided me so much of that, right? The books they don't like ship you books or anything, but you hear a speaker, or you learn from someone, or you read about a topic, and then you meet the person or meet people that are running their businesses that have experiencing life, that have raised families, who have had all these experiences you haven't, and you learn from them. You can't help not to. And so I just think it's good people and good information make us all better people.
So how did you get really, when you started, was the forum already existing?
No, there's a brand new forum. That was the point, is that they said, okay, you're all joining together. We're going to put you in the same forum. And I'm like, I can't. I joined EO to learn from other entrepreneurs. And what I didn't realize is we're all entrepreneurs, right? We're all other entrepreneurs.
Of course.
And so whether we've been in EO for a long time or not doesn't take away from those experiences.
Now, how long did it take for you to be in that forum where you actually felt like you actually fit finally?
Well, I still don't think, I still don't feel like I really fit, right?
Why is that?
I think that honestly, answer the question, we've had our first retreat, which was probably 9 months, which was just a place just outside of town, Leapers Fork. We went to Clay Blevins' father's cabin, and we spent a couple of nights together, hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sort of left there realizing how different we all were, but how the same we all were. Right. And that was a cool experience. And we've done retreats and retreats and retreats since then, but that still was the best. That was awesome.
And it feels like the first retreat catalyzes the forum starting to work together, because then it's like,
or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't hear about a lot that don't. And, I know Colton and I disagree on when that should be. Should it be, in the first 6 months? Should it be in the first 12 months?
Oh, there's an argument here. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
Make the case for either one.
Well, Colton believes, and because from his experiences, that you get a forum to just do a light retreat in the first, somewhere between month 3 and month 8. And that helps bring people together. I heard him talk about it on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You were here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my position is, I think that I like to use the first 6 months to get into a meeting rhythm, to get the meeting right, to get the updates right, to get the presentation right. And then around somewhere between month 10 and month 14, then that's when the retreat should occur. We're both right and right.
So I think my forum is the second longest tenured in EO Nashville, and ours was in that range. And I remember
which one, Eric? The sooner range or the longer range?
The sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, excuse me. The longer range that you mentioned.
Yeah.
We were probably 10, 12 months in. And I remember the moment that I began to realize what we really had. And that's when our first moderator, Kevin Geddes, he called me some things that I will not repeat on this podcast. And I'm like, oh yeah, we've really connected. We've come together.
I can trust you.
We can trust him. We can say things to each other. And we when somebody is picking on you, you're copacetic. You're okay. And that's when we began to kind of let the guard down and talk about who we really were.
I mean, there's pros and cons to both elements. It just, pick one, but you have to have one, and you don't have to have one every year. That's certainly best practice. But I'd rather have, 3 good ones in 5 years than 5 mediocre ones in 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, during retreat, is there any exercises that you have found to be successful in getting the vulnerability to open up?
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I think it's our retreats when we have more fun than get things accomplished is when we don't have an exercise or someone to force us to do an exercise, right? Someone to work out the legs in the workout. We all want to do the easy stuff, but the exercise of reflecting back on life and writing that down and then sharing that back with your forum in an open way and then hearing everyone share back, those have been the best exercises. And so, whether it's, your last letter, the last letter concept or
explain the last letter for those of us that don't know.
The last letter is you have 1 hour to live. You can write one letter to one person and go. Now, complete that. Now share that back with your forum so that I can understand what's real.
Yeah, that is like suddenly you're aware of what's going on in each member's mind.
Yeah.
Because you're going to put you're going to write to the person that's most important.
Or I mean, everyone takes a different approach. And I would just encourage you not to announce that you're doing this, before retreat. This is something you say, okay, this is why a facilitator is actually better to do it. But it was thrown on us by a facilitator and no one knew it was happening. So you couldn't really prepare.
I could tell that was really impactful for you.
We're talking about it, right?
I cried more. I cried for like hours.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop crying.
Was it during the writing that you were crying or the listening?
When I tried to read it back. In fact, one of my forum mates had to read it for me. I couldn't even read it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not everyone, everyone that's just one. The point is have an exercise where you have to dig deep alone and get it on paper and then read it back to your forum mates. And so it's therapeutic for you, the person who does it. But there's also the win of hearing those 7 other feedbacks, hearing what's important to the people that are walking along this path with you.
I was at the moderator training with Anna Birch, and she was talking about when people are opening up and being vulnerable. And I don't know how she said it, but it really alarmed me because when someone's speaking emotionally to me, my ears just perk up and I'm focused. I'm listening to every single word. And then I'm also at that moment where there's that deep connection with emotion coming from another person. I see myself in what they're saying. And it's that reflection, like I've been there. I feel that. And I'm not thinking about what I got to do after the forum meeting. I'm not thinking about that phone call. I'm not thinking about the to-dos. It's like I'm on and focused. And that's one of the powers of that vulnerability piece, when people feel free to open without the judgment, without the opinions or whatever.
So that's that trust part, right?
Yeah.
I got to trust that I'm trusted and that I trust you, and why this works at retreat and might not work for just a meeting is you got to have time to de-escalate that a little bit, right? You don't need to be in a rush. You need to be nowhere else to go. And that's what retreat often is. It's not necessarily doing some elaborate thing. It's being someplace with no place else to go.
So let's do the setup. Would you do that setup?
By the way, let me just throw you, there's other, like write about what you would tell, draw a name out of a hat from your forum and tell them something you've been wanting to tell them for 2 years. That's an exercise, right? Draw the name and write what you appreciate most about them. Like that's an exercise. There are Ellie and Colton have volumes of this stuff, but do an exercise is my point.
Yeah.
We can go and you go someplace, we're going to review the Constitution. We're going to talk about when we're meeting, we talk about our roles. Those are mandatory sort of things. We're going to do something fun, right? We're going to have a chef. We're going to climb the mountain.
Yeah.
You guys do some fantastic stuff. We're going to experience new things, right? But do an exercise. That's a 3-hour block of time or more I remember those things as much as I remember anything about.
Yeah.
And they moved me. They moved the needle. They changed how I approach life. They changed how I approach my kids and my wife and my work. And that doesn't mean it will happen for you, but I think the chances are high.
So, related question, in your opinion, what is the ideal amount of time that a forum should take when they go on forum? How long should the forum
For retreat
last?
Well, it depends on what we're doing, right? If as long as you do the things you're supposed to do, you can do it in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're there already and you can stay 5 days and do 2 more adventure things, 2 more things that you wouldn't do alone, or that you know what I mean, do them.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to. It doesn't have to be world class everything. Even if you go to a cabin, in the woods, Cullen Douglas's, tree houses, and you do the mandatory stuff and you go for a hike, that's okay. If you do that in a foreign country and do some of the great adventures you guys have done, that's even better. But you got to do it.
Mm. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever had a retreat go bad? And if it was a bad retreat, what made it bad?
Yes. We're more focused on the fun than the reason we're there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've had that go bad. We've had, a member might use as an opportunity to go a little crazy. Maybe they drink too much. Maybe they indulge too much.
Drink too much at a retreat? Who would do such a thing?
And it goes back to, why are we here? Right? This isn't a vacation. It's a retreat, but it's not a vacation. It's not a getaway from reality. It's a come closer as a group.
Yeah.
If all we get out of the retreat is another vacation, we really are shortchanging ourselves and our forum.
I always think when I don't have this in my forum now, but I've been in other forums where as soon as we get to the house, it's like they crack open the beer and then you lose all the value. Yeah. Because we were all wrapped up in this.
I think that just to me, and Eric, I don't know how many retreats you've been on, but I know it's a lot. But there's compartments for this, right? There's get there and crack the beer and have some nuts and have a meal. Next morning, we're going to work for 3 hours. That afternoon, we're going to go, skiing or hiking or climbing or something. Next day, same thing. We're going to do the exercises and we're going to reverse it. But have that time. And given to our own wills, most people will not want to do the exercises. Right?
Of course,
we don't want to do the schoolwork.
Yeah.
We just want to play. And so that's where a facilitator makes a massive difference, because they make it happen. They make you do the legwork.
It's the person from out of town with the suitcase who's there to
this is what I don't want to do. This is what we're doing.
Right. We paid for this. We're doing it. Yeah.
So I think that's the key. Now, if you have someone strong enough in your forum to make that happen, right? Or if there's a couple of you that can bound together, I love it. I'm just saying, what happens a lot is, we meant to do it. Right. Our intention was to do it, but we had so much fun and we had so many beers and we had so many shots and we did so much this, and it just goes away.
Yeah. So let's change direction a bit.
Yeah.
So back to, in terms of, the forum experience of Arnie with a difficult decision that Arnie needed help with.
Yeah.
And, I want to take you back to a time in your business or your personal life where you had a struggle or something that you were facing that you were struggling with a decision and you brought the forum.
Look, I don't know how many people. I'm a list maker. I make lists for everything. I know. It goes on and on. But I can tell you by presentation. My first presentation was about expanding my office space and the fear I had around making that commitment. The second one was about replacing my wife in the company, who had been basically our bookkeeper, our not CFO, but in a small business, everybody's the C of something, with a non-family member. Like, who's going to handle all the money? And I remember presenting that to my forum and learning the trust of someone other than my wife to handle all the money. I remember taking the forum, the idea of buying the building that we eventually housed ourselves in, and the pressure to buy that building. I remember when I had to fire someone who had been with my company for a long, long time, right? The sacred cow. Like, I remember making that presentation and getting feedback on that and experiences on that. Buying my personal home dealing with my kids when they were teenagers, right? That everyone goes, I mean, knock on wood, but there's always something. When my father died, when my mother died, the first people I came back, the first time I cried was when I told my forum my mother had passed away. And not the first time in my life, but first time I'd cried about that situation. I just, there's so many vivid memories over 18 plus years. And those are just my memories, much less the fact that I was there for my 7 other forum mates when these, magical things happened in their lives, both good and bad.
So I feel like you're going to give me the opportunity to pick my own adventure routine. So
there's so many.
So if you were to pick one, what's the one that kept you up the most and you were struggling for that decision that you brought the forum, and what that was like? What was the most impactful thing that was a big struggle?
Probably when we purchased our building, we went from renters to buyers, right? And that I can honestly say it changed my entire life, because we were buyers at the right time and we ended up being sellers at the right time. But just the struggle of the financial pressure of what buying a building meant for a company our size, for the size building we needed, and to find the strength, the courage, and
it's a big risk, the
chutzpah to
what was the fear?
Well, we all work. My wife and I would when we started the business in 1994, 95, like we would work our tails off to rub 2 nickels together to make a dime or 11 cents, right? Just anything to make the extra penny. And so you work to get here and you work to get there, and then you put it all on the line. Like it's chips in for all, not just me, for you too, for every EO or listening to this, it's chips in all the damn time, right? And we make small bets, but a building is all in. Because if it goes south, you've put everything in the basket. And so what Forum gave me in that situation were experiences where it went well, experiences where it went wrong. It helped open my eyes to things I hadn't even thought about. It helped get me, the legal protection I needed. It helped align my assets in a way that made me more comfortable. It put me in touch with the right people, or helped me go seek the right people to walk me through that process. And so it just gave me a path. Gave me a path. And that's, no one said, do this, which I hope almost never happens in Forum. Everyone said, here's what I did to buy or not buy, or the decision I made to rent or not rent. Like everyone gave me their experiences, and then I could take that and run with it.
I'm curious because, the decision is ultimately to either lease space or buy, right? And that's the position you were in. I'm curious, if I was in your forum today, post-pandemic, and I was coming to you asking for an experience share, how would that be different knowing what we went through with the pandemic with office space? Yeah. Would that change the dynamic?
Well, I can only share my experience, right?
Of course,
I can't say, well, all I can say is, I was in this position. This is what my financial future looked like. This is I can only describe. I can't change it for the circumstances now.
Right. Of course.
And that's what's crazy about advice. Why advice is so taboo in EO is that what worked for me, or what I think would work for me, might not work for you. You have different risk tolerance. You have different family members. You have different you have obligations that I'm not even aware of. And so I just think that's the. One of the things I help coach forums on a lot these days is get them out of the habit of advice, on the record or off the record, and in the habit of experiences. And what I found is that's great advice in life. Like not just at forum.
Well, you mentioned that it's made you a better parent.
Yeah.
How has that manifested itself?
I don't know what everyone's experience is going when kids go from your little boy or your little girl to not that. And maintaining,
an adult?
You're so dumb, Dad.
I mean, it just really changes that everyone changes at a different age. And then, so what I find is that if you and your partner are aligned in how you raise your children, that makes things better. But most of us have to manage some degree of misalignment with our spouse, and we have to manage different levels of hormones with our kids. And we have to come out of that with them knowing how much we love them, right? And it not be a battle. And what I learned from my forum mates is that everyone parents differently. No one does it perfectly right or no one does it perfectly wrong. But it taught me to focus on what I know to be true, which is how much I love them, no matter what, how much I'll support them, no matter what, how they need to make their own decisions, how their life is theirs and not mine. And these are all generic things that, you could read in any list. But I learned them through the experiences of my forum mates, which is very different than reading it somewhere in a list or some counselor telling you these things.
Have you been in a forum where someone gave you advice, and you maybe even accidentally, and you took it and it was a bad thing?
We all do it, by the way. We all do it.
Yeah.
We can't help ourselves.
Yeah. We fixers. We're fixers.
Yeah, we're fixers.
Well, sometimes we even ask for it in our forum. When we go out to dinner.
Tell me what you do. Tell me what to do. And I would urge anyone listening to this to first answer that with, I'd rather not. Just. I mean, I'm not saying that if you're being badgered, you can't say, okay, this is what I do. But just try to get over that first crutch of telling people what to do. Just try. Just say, I'd rather not. Tell me more. You tell me more. Tell me what you're thinking. And so that has served me well. That has served me well with my kids. Like not telling them what to do, asking them what they think they should do, telling them about my experience and why I want them to do a certain thing as opposed to what they should do. And so, parenting is such a personal thing. And my parenting style, other people would throw up at, and, I'm sure I'd throw up at other people's parenting style. But what Forum taught me, Forum gave me options to be a better parent. And I was lucky enough that my brain let me take those.
Yeah, I see the same thing. I think there's no doubt that Forum has given me more father teaching than any other thing I've ever could have done. Because I feel like my kids are like these little professors that constantly are teaching me and making me aware of hangups that I've had for years that I've never been able to see until you see it in them. And you're like, wow.
Yeah. Well, where do you get that mouth?
Yeah. Oh man, he got it straight from the source.
Here's your freebie. If doing exercises and specifically doing the last letter in your Forum retreat is a good one. This is the best family thing that I think I picked up from Forum, which is families are based on traditions. And if you're not purposely creating traditions in your family, no matter how goofy or how sane they are, you're missing an opportunity because in over 20, my kids are 24 and 26 now. What they remember are the things we did regularly.
Yeah.
What binds them to the family and to each other and to us are the things we did regularly, good and bad.
What's your favorite tradition?
Right? Good and bad. Oh, that's a on the spot one. Can I pass on? I can't process that one.
I'll share yours. My favorite is we used to call it highs and lows. It's called highs and lessons. And it's a great thing that happened in the day. And it's something that was a bit of a challenge, but what did you learn from that? And whatever that could be. And we always did over dinner. And I learned so much about how my kids are doing in their day. And I see them when they get upset about something that they experience, and I can just see their stress and they're processing the lesson question. And then it's really wild how they take that, and you can see them just like processing and then looking at it differently. Because I also kind of believe this is one of the truths about decisions. There is no bad decision. They're all good decisions at the end of the day. Whatever the decision was, the outcome was supposed to be that way, and that is that way. And we can't look back and go, what if, woulda, coulda, shoulda. We just have to accept it. Like we were supposed to go through, even if the decision was, ended up killing the company. Like, and you can look at your list of your lifelines and go, oh, that was a terrible thing. I lost the company. But if you look at the next point in a lifeline is a peak, and it's always better, right? And so it could have been that thing that got you there. And so I think all of it is
learn from the failure.
Yeah.
It's the parable of the Chinese farmer. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
All right. Do you have a favorite tradition? I finally thought of one.
Good.
I'm slow.
I'm stuck in the same place you are. I can't answer that on the spot.
Well, he gave me the break of the pause, but we feed our kids when they were young, when we were still lying to them, which I can't, that's a whole nother story about Santa Claus and all that. We have them go outside and feed the reindeer, and my wife would make a mixture of oats and sparkly stuff and sugar. And they would go out and they would put the reindeer food down so that the reindeer would have something to eat while Santa was hanging out at the house. And we still did it, they're 24 and 26, and we're like, hey, we need to go feed the reindeer. Like it's just a peg to hang on to, right?
Yeah.
As we go through life.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to keep these traditions alive.
Steve Kernut in my forum was the biggest. I'm trying to mention names of Joe Friedman. I mentioned Steve Kernut was the big, tradition guy and creating traditions people can live with or, get through life with. And so every one of my original forum mates and new forum mates have brought so much to the table. And here's the crazy part. Us being together as a forum was not a decision. It was something that was like, it was like, here's your forum mates. Yet they've turned out to be some of the most important people in my life. And I hope I'm at least a reasonably important person in their lives. But this happens to us all the time, right? We decide where to go to college and it changes our life. We decide what job to take and it changes our life. We decide who to marry, it changes our life. We decide, like you said, the decision, good or bad, changes our life. We don't get to choose where we're born. We don't get to choose who our family is. But everything else we choose, and then life happens. Forum was not something I chose. It was presented to me. And it's just been a fantastic experience.
So here's a question, and I see this a lot. I hear this a lot. I've experienced this a lot in a forum setting where a member shares a deep dive, and you've heard it 3 times.
Yeah.
The same deep dive.
Yeah.
Like literally you could stand up and go, dude, I got this.
I'll present it for you.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do you sit there and listen to that again?
I'm going to answer this in a very liberal way. It's because I love them, man. And we all learn at different paces, and we're not ready for the teacher until we're ready. And so I just love the fact that they're willing to share it, that I hate that they're struggling with it. I want them to figure out the answer. But I also love them for being there and trying. Like they're still trying, they're still swinging the bat. They just can't quite get it on the ball. And I've heard you talk about this on the podcast, and I think forums can approach it any way they want. We had a session one time where the exercise was tell the person whose name you drew the thing you wish they would quit struggling with. So that's a way to do it in a peaceful setting, a non-confrontational setting, so they can get over that. And but to answer your question, how do I do it? I just do it with love. I can't make them go fix it. I can't make a teammate of mine do something they aren't ready to do yet. But I do appreciate the fact that they've always been there for me, and I'm going to continue to be there for them.
Wow, that was really good. That was, I thought you were going to hit me with some tactic or. I mean, you mean love? You mean you're going to use love? What?
Sorry, man.
No, I like it. I like it. But it's also having a sense of grace and being patient. And maybe it takes that third time with some experience share that someone said it differently and they were just open to hear it. A lot of times we hear things all the time that we should be doing, and it takes 7 or 5, 20 times.
What we constantly listen for is something to confirm what we already believe. Forum is a place where you can be open and learn something you don't believe yet. Like that's the magic of forum. It's not to get in your echo chamber and hear what you want to hear. If you want that, go tell your team. Your team will tell you what you want to hear most of the time, or they'll tell you nothing. But your forum is there to help open your mind up to other things. And which the gift is, you trust them enough to listen. It's just sometimes I know I know my forum's frustrated with me over things, right? There's not a single forum member in my forum who one of us wouldn't say, man, just get off the, schneid.
Yeah.
But we just have to wait for it to happen.
In my experience, that is the one thing that everybody struggles with. And I think everybody in my forum has struggled with is parting ways with that person that just isn't working out. But there's some reason why you hang on to that person.
We just got to keep digging until we find it.
And we've seen it over and over and over again. And I think part of it is that there's this feeling of loss. Maybe there's a personal relationship there and that they feel like this person can't be replaced. And once you do it, oh man, this is way easier than I ever thought it was going to be. And you get through it. Like you said, look, time moves on, you figure it out.
Couples who need to be separate. I can't figure out a way to get along with my kid because I'm too stubborn about this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing with this habit I can't break.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know the right thing to do, but I can't stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
An addiction of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all these things, they don't just magically go away because you present them in forum.
Right.
Right. And sometimes it takes time. We call it blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
I know my forums. I know every one of their blind spots, but I can't see my own.
Mm.
And I damn well assure you they know mine.
Mm.
Right. And that's again a level of trust that and look, if you're a newer forum, if you just haven't gained that yet, it starts with you being willing to trust, to make people better, to listen to presentations over and over again, to always offer your experience, not your. It begins with you.
Mm.
Just like in your company, culture reflects leadership, right? Be the leader of the company you want to run. Be the forum mate of the forum you want to be in. It's the beginning of the journey.
Oh, wow. That was excellent. So take us to conclusion here.
It's like being with Yoda here.
Take us. That's a 1 minute reel, by the way, on Instagram. Question though. So you go to forum. I'm making a decision whether to lease or buy a piece of property.
Yeah.
So tell us what the outcome was. Tell us
the outcome was one of my forum mates had recently gone through it and described it and was about a year or two after it. And that gave me the courage to say, hey, if he can do it, then I know that's someone I can lean on as I do it. Others had passed, right, and had benefit or detriment to their world, but others knew people that could help me through the transaction and just said, these are resources out there that you can consider. And so all of it gave me the courage to finally go through with the deal. Now we bought a building, but we didn't. It only had half the parking we needed, and so we had to buy another piece of property, just to have parking for our people. Just to have the parking for our people. It was like each of them were 0.8 acres downtown. Now what came to happen about 6 months after we signed the deal is they announced the Music City Center about 2 blocks from my property. And it changed everything.
Wow.
And so my business continued to be successful. Both my businesses continued to be successful. And about the time it was to exit those businesses, each of them separately to separate buyers, we also got an offer on the property, both pieces of property.
Wow.
And the combination of those 3 exits gave me what my personal BHAG has been since I was 35, which was financial freedom by 50.
Mm.
And so that decision changed everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I still drive by constantly the buildings we were thinking about leasing that were very shiny, that were very cool.
Mm.
And I would have, life would have been good, but it wouldn't be as good as it is now.
Yeah. Oh, that is so great. Arnie, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
thank you.
I feel like we were all over the place, and so I apologize
All
in
in the right
advance.
place.
I appreciate
All
you
in
having
the
me.
right place.
Eric, I appreciate you letting me hang out with you today.
Enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you. If you have not heard of Entrepreneur Organization, we are right here in Nashville, Tennessee, 345 entrepreneurs strong here who get together every single month to talk about tough decisions in our personal lives and our business lives to help us with those important decisions. If you are interested in learning more about EO, you can visit
eonashville.com, eonashville.com. That's, you'll find all the things. You'll find the podcast there, eonashville.com/podcasts. Obviously, you're already watching, listening. You know where we are, but come check us out.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.